right, we're going to call the February 4th Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order. And we'll send that down. Okay, public forum. So basically, we have, we don't have anybody really that just wants to speak for public forum, but we do have a Boy Scout and we have Will. So can I get a motion to move up 9G, no, I'm sorry, new business, the 10A, the Eagle Scout project for the T-pads, and E, the expansion of the cage at Lake Quantico.
I'll make a motion to move new business 10A Eagle Scout project T-pads and 10E expansion of cage at Lake Quinnipiac to now.
I'll second it. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Why don't we let you go first? Are you ready? Okay. Oh, wait, John, can you stand over by the microphone for us? Thanks, hon.
So for my Eagle Scout project, I'm planning on constructing up to 9 tee boxes. With one other scout, we'll do the other 9, or maybe 2 other scouts will do 6, 6, and 6. And they'll be 6 by 12 filled with stone dust, or some may have like a wooden plank with AstroTurf covering it. And I plan on completing it by the end of this summer, so we'll start around spring or early summer.
No, by the end of...
By the end of this summer, I'll have it completed, hopefully.
Any questions about this?
Are you doing fundraising for the stone dust and if you do the turf?
I don't think so. I think the Parks and Recreation is covering most of it.
Yeah, Rick, some of that Rick
Rick
already,
said, yeah.
he's already raised like $9 grand
Mm-hmm.
for the project.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions? Well, this is going rather quickly, huh?
I know.
Pretty straightforward. All right, so can we get a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve Eagle Scout project. You're John?
Yeah, John.
For John to make the T-pads for the disc golf course.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, John, thank you. Just contact Rick, he's be out for a couple of days, but then just contact him later on this week and he'll get you all started and ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do appreciate that. This is great. Okay, Mr. Thompson,
Well, John was such a good presenter, I think he should do mine.
if he can figure out what those maps are, he can do it. I guess, you know what, before you start, I just found out today, you probably aren't aware, because it was last on our agenda here, but the crew team needs a little more room up at Lake Quantipiac.
Okay.
So that's why Will is here to talk to us about expanding the room that they need.
Okay.
And it's also for your boats. you
And
know,
for
the
our
paddle
boats as
I
well,
was gonna say,
absolutely.
is this completely different than the request for boats up there?
Yes.
This is different than
Yeah, we're not putting in boat racks.
This is
Somebody-
just about adjusting the enclosure.
time, space.
Yeah, the cage is already there. This isn't,
Except for last time we talked about.
the last time we talked about putting in boat racks for
Okay.
people. This is not the same thing.
Okay. So, for the record, Will Thompson, an architect here in town. And I'm, just want to go over some possible adjustments to the boat storage area, which is on the north end of the beach at Lake Quantipiac. And just to get us familiar with what we're talking about, these 2 images are from the town's GIS site. So here's Route 77, here's the barn, here's the beach. That's the launching dock that's in seasonally. And the existing enclosure on this sheet, you can see this dark blue line is what's enclosed now. And what's happening is, particularly during the height of the cruise season, a lot of boats end up on the beach, including at night. So it would be helpful to have more space, as well as your paddle boats, which you can see in this image here. So I met with Rick and also with Matt Wilson, who's now that runs the crew program. And we laid out this slightly enlarged area, which is about 16 and a half feet further south. So in fact, if you were to count 2 fence posts on the fence near the road, that's how much distance. It's not really that much more area. And what would happen is the intent would be to take the same fence line, move it out, and then also skirt the edge of the lake. That'll allow some additional boats to be stored on a one-sided rack over here that the crew team would put up. It would be a temporary rack, basically. And it would also allow space for the paddle boats when you're out of season to go in there. The other thing we talked about is possibly a very small little equipment shed, which we would mimic the kiosk that you have when you enter. Same basic plan, except it would be about 2 feet longer, and that would go right in this corner near the fence. If your commission approves this, we'll probably proceed with these as 2 separate items with land use, because the little storage shed may or may not need different types of approvals, which I would meet with staff. But I just first wanted to see if it aligned with what your commission feels. And that's in a nutshell what we're talking about.
So we're just making this a little bit bigger, that's all.
Exactly, and so it's a little further south, and it also goes right to the edge of the lake. Right now, things get stored there, but they're not enclosed on the,
Over here.
exactly. along
So
this
it's
edge.
really not taking,
So-
like, Claire, you're the
coming
one
up
that's
this
there
way.
all the time.
Uh,
Is it taking away the beach, is it, like, how much of the beach area is it taking away?
It's really an area that isn't really used as
Oh, there's
beach,
two.
but it's 16
Claire
and a
sits
half
there.
feet.
No. In
Is that your
the,
favorite spot?
in the summertime, I mean, in the
My lips are
summertime,
sealed.
these boats and the paddle boats aren't there, and people are up against the fence on 77, right to the cage.
Okay.
Because on weekends, I mean,
It's full.
you can't get in.
Yeah.
And most nights, I mean,
Well, it's-
between 3 and on.
We're
it's-
proposing 16 and a half feet. What would happen is, if we did this, the fence line would look the same. It would have the same paired gates, it would just move out in that direction.
So it would be 16 feet from the further out from the existing fence.
Exactly, so if you look at this double line here,
Yeah.
that's the existing fence. That would be the new
Yeah.
fence. It's 16.4.
And now, this is all beach here.
Correct.
Okay,
I mean, the beach actually goes,
yeah.
that little closing
Yeah,
fence is
sitting.
about there.
Yeah.
It's sort of a question of, is it better to secure, everyone's equipment better, or are you gaining or losing more or less?
But when do they have a problem with the boats, storing the boats? Because they're not there in the summertime.
Well, what's happening in the summer is they've been storing them on the trail or the extra boats. And it's really not as secure as it should be. And then even during season, what's happening is, like when there are events, there's so many boats on the beach, it makes it a lot harder even for a visiting team to come in. It would work better. But obviously, this is about balance. It's about what,
Right.
the whole facility needs. What's always been tricky about this site is for the crew activities, because the road's so busy, we've always
Yes.
staged on the side. We don't really,
Want them coming across the road,
exactly.
yeah.
We're trying
exactly.
to lessen
We
that.
always want to avoid people crossing 77.
And you are talking about roughly 80 athletes when they're in season.
So, well, where the proposed line is, so could you still walk? Could people still walk over here?
So, no, so what would happen is, right now, there's a little cross fence
Yeah,
here.
okay.
It's actually right there.
Yeah,
So
That's
people
right, okay.
can't walk through
Right,
here, and in
right.
fact, what happens is that just becomes brambles.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The water flood up into that area?
This whole area, there's a culvert and a stream comes through the back.
Okay, but
And
from
then-
the lake,
and
sometimes the lake gets high.
The lake edge is typically right about here and then it cuts back.
It-
That's
it-
why I stopped this.
That's not going to mess up any
boats that start to float away.
No, and the boats all are sitting up at least a foot, and then they're in stacks. So, I mean, that area stays as dry as any of this area. In a very heavy flood event, you'll get kind of surface water will run across this zone, but it's not.
How do you secure the boats? Like if
They're strapped.
they're all strapped up? Now, you said they're in a trailer. Now, where's that trailer across
Well,
in the parking lot?
Most of the boats are in this shed,
Yep.
but when during season the trailers
There's a trailer
parked
right
here,
there. Yeah.
and they put them there, and then off season they usually go down to the bus lot,
Yeah.
which is not.
Yeah, 'cause that area's all fenced in.
Well, what's
So
the,
your boats are gonna be locked they're locked to the rack, plus that,
Well, the racks, the enclosure's locked.
the enclosure's
yeah, it
locked?
does have the enclosures, like,
And then they're
yeah.
all strapped off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that if there's wind or heavy weather, the boats can.
got it. So it's gonna make your life a lot easier.
Remind us again what the cruise season is again?
Well, they have a spring season and
Yeah,
a fall season.
okay.
And then we also, they do the learn to row in the summer.
That's
With you guys.
Yep.
Who made the formal request?
I think it would be Guilford Rowing combined with Park and Recs. I mean, we met with Rick because on some level, having better storage for the paddle boats is something that my impression was staff liked. But I don't want to speak for Rick. That's how we, when we met and discussed it.
Any other questions?
No, so you're representing the,
I'm actually just trying to help out. I
Yeah.
helped start the crew program. I'm not involved with it anymore.
okay. All right.
But you really are still.
Once you develop something, you never go.
That's right.
Once they know where you live, you're
Right.
done.
I, for one, I'd like to go take a look at this myself, too.
I think it's a great idea.
Before we make any kind of decisions. And so, why don't we,
To measure out and just.
well, just to
do
go
it-
with, I mean,
yeah, just to
I
s-
don't, I drive by it all the time, but I
Oh,
never get out of the car and
I'm
pull
really bad
over
at
and take a good
visualizing
look
when
at
you
it.
say 16 feet.
I know,
to me,
right.
that's like, oh my God, that's so much, but it probably is.
And it probably isn't, so it'd be nice to go,
Right.
yeah, but it'd be good to
So
go
what's
there
this
and
table?
walk
So
it.
this table is probably, see, I'm married to a woodworker, I don't know these dimensions either. What's this table, Will?
If we were roughly,
But-
where I'm standing
Yeah.
to that wall is
That's about-
the size of tile. You can count ceiling tiles,
Yeah,
eight
right.
ceiling tiles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So actually, it's even a little less.
all right.
And the other thing, if, we actually dragged a line in the sand, but it's probably gone now, but if you count 1, 2 posts, it's right off that
Okay.
post. And it's
All right.
actually a little less, I
2
pulled it,
posts.
it's only about 15.5 on that side, and it's 16.3 or 4 on that side.
Rose, can we possibly go up there with him, so? I
Well,
mean,
we can go up with Rick.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
can make
so
an
Rick-
appointment, go
Rick-
up with Rick. I mean, we don't have to maybe we'll come and do this.
But
for
Rick
us.
would know, obviously Rick
Absolutely.
would know where it is, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we problem, someone just calls.
Yeah, we will.
And would it be adding a new cage or building off of that?
I think tentatively, we'd see if they can't just reset this line and add
And
fencing.
add fencing to it.
This fence here would go away, so they could potentially reuse that. So really, the new fencing, in theory, are only a couple of parts. It depends how well it all comes apart.
Right.
But it's the same height, same color, basic layout.
Okay, any other questions for him? All right, so thank you, and we're gonna go visit this place, and then we'll talk to Rick, and we'll get back to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for all your work with the cruise.
It's great. Good.
Have a great evening.
Yeah,
Will,
thank
do you
you.
want all
Do
these
you want these, or
back?
can we hang on to them? Thank you, we will. John? Good evening.
And Suzanne as
I
well.
think I got 2 copies of the same thing.
There you go. Okay, let's go back to our correspondence. We had one letter in the packet. Thank you for Patty for all of the scheduling she does with the buses, and I tell you, if you come here sometimes during the day, it's
Quite a few
really,
buses coming
yeah,
and
she's,
going.
buses coming and going, and, I mean, I didn't realize we were actually taking people to dialysis, but I think that's great, so. It was a thank you to Patty. And the other one I just handed you, because I just got it today as well. And it's a thank you from the Parks and Rec's ground maintenance staff to Matt Hoey, thanking him for the new office trailer, thanking Rick, thanking the commission, thanking Ellen, Tom Fillion, the Department of Public Works, Steve Nydorf and his crew, and there are a lot of people that really worked on this, so basically, he just wants to tell everybody that he is very grateful and thankful for.
That's very nice, very impressive that he
For,
took the effort to,
for that.
I'm assuming it's Anthony.
It's Tony.
Oh,
Yeah,
Same person.
Anthony Amasella, our Parks woman.
yeah.
Same person. Depends who you talk to. If you call him Tony or Anthony.
All right, so the minutes of our January 7th meeting. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of the January 7th meeting?
I'll make a
That was
motion to
regular
accept
meeting.
the January 7th minutes.
I will second it.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections or anything? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and now the minutes of our budget workshop meeting, which was the next day on January 8th. A motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve the budget workshop minutes from January 8th, 2019.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any additions or corrections to that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, review and approval of our expenditures. Do love this. Color coded,
So much nicer.
isn't it? It's great. Okay, any questions on the budget? Not that I could answer them, but any questions on the budget?
It really helps spike out the charges for Guilford High School, so.
Yep.
I know I ask this all the time.
Oh, you feel free to ask it.
The kiosk
Don't know if I can answer it.
over there, it's right there, the kiosk.
Okay, yes. Where
We're
is it?
responsible for paying for it still, even though that was
I think so.
not our doing or wanting. Just,
I think it's just easier for us to do it. But we'd have to ask, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, it just is easy for us.
Just like it's easy for us to do. Sorry, but we really need I think we really need a date for the high school at some point.
and then next, I just gotta ask Rick again, I mean, it's not right now, but I know it's
Mhm.
through the state, but the Lake Q crosswalk,
Right.
I know we just replaced buttons and whatnot, but it doesn't have the sound or the
Oh.
countdown when you cross, and we do have,
Some people with some
yes,
sight problems.
and, a lifeguard or a gate guard or myself or someone else usually has, if she doesn't have her partner with her, then we have to stop and, I mean, not that I care, but I mean, I don't want a lifeguard and a
No.
gate guard constantly stopping to cross with her. And I thought that was an ADA compliance issue. But the state just redid that light last summer for us, so I don't know why it wasn't changed then.
All right,
Because we pay for that button.
I will, I'll put that on my list to ask Rick.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the budget? Okay, motion to approve the expenditures?
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditures for January 2019.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Boy, we're just. Okay, department reports. Director's report, again, I mean, it's here, I don't know that I can answer any questions, but I would try, but a lot of what's on here is also part of our agenda, so I think we're pretty good.
been nice to see people on Mill Pond.
Yes.
I'm glad the weather's gotten cold enough this year that we've had 3 days on it.
Super happy to have those benches in Mill Pond.
Yeah.
Getting skates on. Great job, Kyle.
Yeah.
Gotta love our Eagle Scouts.
Okay, the Parks Foreman report, any comments on that?
Always impressive what they get done.
Yeah, he's been checking Mill Pond. Actually, Rick, I think Rick mentioned to me today that there were probably over 100 people there over the weekend
I wouldn't doubt it.
skating, so it really was quite good.
Does anybody know where to get skates sharpened?
No, can't help you with that.
I think Action Sports in Branford.
No, Guilford Sporting Goods does.
Oh, okay,
skate
you're right.
sharpening
Oh, they
now.
do?
Yeah, they do.
Still?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
I know they used to years ago.
They just started back up again, so.
Okay, any questions on Ellen's report? I did see her after they had done the food around the world. She says it really was quite nice.
The kids love those half-day programs.
Yes. Right, and she showed me some pictures from the intergenerational yoga and lunch, and that was also very, very good, so. Okay, any questions on Terry's report?
Family Feud was funny.
Oh, it was fun. Did you see it there?
I snuck in the back because my mom was there.
It was a lot of fun.
For what?
Family Feud.
Oh, family. Oh, right.
It was a fun day. And they have a lot of fun things coming up this month as well, so.
Harry makes me want to be a senior.
Mm-hmm.
Good programming.
Don't wish that.
Don't wish that.
This
I'm
August.
getting close enough, right?
55? Oh, God.
How old do you have to be a senior?
55? 55.
Active adults.
It's active adults, we don't worry about that. Just come, you're free, come. No. No, it was.
I'm way over the limit.
It was good.
I think it's great.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I have to talk to you. All right.
Room improvement, oh, never mind. Isn't that on here?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
I'll get to that.
Yep, it's there.
I was gonna thank you.
Okay. So, let's move on to the commission and staff reports. John,
Yes.
Fields Committee,
Fields Committee, okay.
other than the, which we'll talk about later.
You want to carry that? I can carry that
The
to
field
later.
use policy, why don't we do that later on?
Fields use will be later on. Okay, then I'll give you an update on the artificial turf. They had a meeting again. Well, unfortunately, we are not moving as fast forward as we would like. Unfortunately, at the end of the mediation, there was, it determined that there was no true clarification as a start date as to when they were going to start ripping up the old turf and replacing it. But it is a part of the mediation process that there will be a start date when it is clarified among all the parties. That's how it's written, is among all the parties. So we're looking still at possibly another 4 to 6 weeks before any activity will be started, most likely when the spring, when the winter weather breaks. The town attorney is involved in this right now. He is monitoring the situation. But in the meantime, there is no backtracking on the fact that the turf will be replaced. It's just that the timing has now been put into a little bit of a question mark. And unfortunately, there was another situation where 2 of the subcontractors who were involved in this evidently took it upon themselves to do some of their own independent consulting between each other as to when they were going to get this started. So that's how this problem has been exacerbated and has not been moving as fast as the town would like. But as reported to me, the town attorney is involved, and he is monitoring the situation for us. That's the most of what I can get on that. And then we'll discuss the field use a
Yes,
little bit later.
we have that in our package.
Okay.
Okay, Green Committee, Rick's not here. Land acquisition, anything?
No meeting.
Actually, I have a question about land acquisition.
Yeah, shoot.
Okay. I know this is probably going to come out a little bit of left field, and after that glowing letter we just read about the new trailer that we had installed for our personnel down at the south end of town. The other day, I didn't realize this as much, that the place that used to be known as the Land Rover of Guilford and Guilford Saab, both of those properties are open at this point. And I know that we had put it into our capital budget for maybe up to 4 years from now to try to build ourselves a brand-new facility. But in this, well, I'm just wondering if it would be possible if we could, through the land acquisition process, see as to whether or not that those two properties would be available for our use as Park and Recreation. Because they do have service bays. Land Rover has 4 service bays, and the Saab has at least that many as well. Plus you have the offices for the showrooms and everything else. I don't know, maybe it seems like it'd be something that we could potentially investigate to see, rather than spending millions of dollars for a new building, that maybe we could convert an existing property, which I don't see has much of a future for another car dealership to move in there.
I can bring it, we have, supposed to have a meeting this week, so I can ask them about that, but I also know the owner of those dealerships, and he is planning on selling it for big bucks for a strip mall. And right now it is, the Saab dealership is being used for a detailer, he's renting it out to a detailer. But I will ask land acquisitions if
to do
they.
that, but we could certainly bring it to land acquisition and.
Yeah.
That's
say-
all I'm going to
Put 'em up in
say.
there. That's all
Say
we
that
need,
the
yeah.
property's available
The
and.
property's available, and
Right.
we're looking for a similar type property,
Right.
so maybe it's
Okay.
something in our future.
Okay. Okay, Mark isn't here for technology. Community center improvements. So before you leave, check out the Leet Room and the Ruth Alexander. They are new leather swivel barrel chairs that we've gotten, and we've ordered a couple of more chairs to replace the red ones. The sofas are gone, and the rooms are looking really nice. And we have a new rug coming in for the Leet Room as well.
I have to admit, when we
So
had
we're
the
getting
Shannon
there.
Fields meeting last week, we did miss the leather couch. I mean, it was,
Really?
I mean, but it was comfort zone, that's what it was. But, now that
Just
it's
sit
gone.
now and you swivel, come on.
Well, now, yes, sir. Yes. Now you're in Captain Kirk's chair, swiveling around. and
Absolutely.
moving around, yes.
Sit and swivel.
Absolutely. A little pillow, just lay back, no. But it is, I think it's looking really, it's looking good. But if we looked at what Todd had written up, I'm noticing too, the stacking chairs are now going, and again, 25 years, I mean, everything is starting to fall apart, to get worn. So we probably will look into replacing some of those chairs as well, and some of these tables. Have chips in them.
Stacking chairs as in the kitchen area where everybody eats? Those
Yes.
stacking
The
chairs?
black ones.
The black ones, the ones that are used downstairs.
Didn't we just approve to get new ones?
I don't
a
think we've
small
gotten to it,
amount?
yes, and I don't know that we've actually, I think everything else started to happen in
Oh,
terms
okay.
of painting and this and that, so I don't know
Oh, yeah, we were gonna look at pricing.
that we were gonna look at it, and so I think it's something, one thing at a time. So that'll be the next thing on the list. But we are definitely making headway into replacing a lot of the furniture that's been here for a lot of years, so we're getting there. Splash pad, anything happening?
Rick, Mandy and myself met with a consultant last month, and we took them to Jacobs Beach, Chittenden, and Bittner Park. We walked all 3. We told him about all 3 properties. He went and did his own pictures and research and is coming back with a proposal of what he thinks is the best place and how he would set it up and cost. Just from talking to him, I would say after our meeting, his recommendation would be Bittner Park.
Just seems so far.
So there was he wasn't against it at Jacobs, but there were definitely more issues and placement of it and piping and pumps and whatnot, and the cost of the water, because it would be town water. Whereas at Bittner, it would be a well, so, and there is a well right where he was thinking about putting it, which would be, the snack shack is at the top. So if you go to the left, there's that cement placement already. So he said, you already have the base. So, and it's already blocked off. And then it just kind of led into conversation of like, well, maybe we revamp Bittner and Snack Shack could open again, or, I don't know.
Is that
So-
where the old playground used to be?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have to worry about softball players hitting baseballs or
No.
Nope.
softballs in there anymore.
Then, of course, if we ever had a drought with a well.
Yeah, I
you
was
just
gonna
wouldn't-
say.
You just wouldn't run it.
You
Right.
just wouldn't run it. You know, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I just have never heard of a well being a better idea than town water.
Yeah.
Well, just cost factor.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're pumping out 10,000 gallons of water in an
Yeah.
hour, and you're running it all day. But he said he was gonna come back with the figures for both, because he was checking with the town engineers about the pressure at our well, because that was just tested, and also where the water would come in at Jacobs.
Problem with Jacobs, where do you put it? Because where we wanted to put it floods.
Right. Well, we looked at 3 different spots.
So, I mean,
So
there's always
one
the
would be
chance of it
closer to
flooding.
the bathhouse. So it would take a grass strip away from the bath, right in front of the bathhouse. Then it was right next to the shower by the playground, so on the other side of the new platform. And then the third spot was like right over the platform where the grass strip starts. So I think that's where the handicap spots are. So like in that area. So there were 3 spots that he looked at and said that would work. I mean, Jacobs is easy because the water's there, but
Right.
the flooding
The flooding is the biggest
and
issue, I
the
think. down there.
placement, and do you have to recirculate, and can we reuse
Yeah.
it for irrigation, but we don't have enough irrigation, so, holding tanks. But he
Okay.
was gonna come back with some estimates.
Okay, good, thank you. At least we're making some progress, so. Okay, unfinished business, disc golf course is, actually, last Saturday, Rick told me that there were 10 scouts and their leaders from, Troop 471 working there. So there's, some holes are completed, some are being worked on, and basically, there's only 2 that really haven't been started yet, the 15th and the 18th. So we really have getting there. The baskets have been ordered, and they should be coming in next week. And in Rick's report, he did say that the donations are coming in. So it looks like we're in good shape there. The roof replacement, he's waiting for some final paperwork to finally set, the architect has to sign off on it, and so that's just holding pattern until that gets done. Synthetic turf you took care of.
Just one more thing to add about the synthetic turf.
Sure.
If there's one projection that may be causing some problems up there, is that when they do this, they may have to be cutting off some of the parking up in that area for their equipment. So I believe that the area that they're looking at would be the cul-de-sac area, where they're going to have to place the equipment and the new turf when it comes in. So people should be prepared that there'll probably be some changes in traffic patterns
Right.
when it comes through.
Field use policy and fees. So,
So,
So-
we are now at the.
you have, let's.
Version 5.
You have version 5, which we're
Right.
hoping we could, okay. can I
Which,
have-
which has been voted on by the Standing Fields Committee as being a completed document to be forwarded to this commission for its review and approval. Essentially, some of the things that were modified again was just regarding the discussion of fees, how the fees were going to be charged to the separate types of individuals who will be using the fields. One of the things that did come up was the discussion as to I'll give an example. The main example which was discussed was the program called the Shoreline Sting, which takes approximately 5 softball fields for one weekend in the end of August. And the calculation of their field use was going to take them from approximately what they had paid in the past, which was $600 to almost $3,200. So the discussion was made that for a single-use program such, or a single weekend or a single-time event, that the fees would be modified at the discretion of the Park and Rec director to allow for, instead of an hourly rate, it would just be an event rate.
Flat fee.
A flat fee. And that seemed to be the most, the other members of the Standing Fields Committee accepted that and moved on with this. But there will be an increase to some of the, actually to all of the programs that are in here. There was also an exemption that was put in towards the folks from the Guilford Little League, so that, or all other sports town organizations, that if there is a program that they have to, an example is Little League gets, as part of its charter, is a member of, I don't want to get too technical, but is a member of District 9. District 9 is a member of the state of Connecticut, Guilford Little League. Every year they rotate the state tournaments among the different districts, and the district gets to choose which location would like to host a tournament. Last year, Guilford was the host for the 11 and 12 state championships, which the winner from Connecticut went on to the Little League World Series in Williamsport. So in that circumstance, Park and Recreation spent a considerable amount of time grooming the fields and making everything prepared for this organization, and it was a week-long project. But because of the fact that this was something that the state and the district was requiring the Guilford Little League to become a host on, that they would be exempt from, and that they were, in fact, they were a town organization, a nonprofit town organization, they would be exempted from this. But still, it's still at the discretion of the department and the director to charge any type of extraordinary fees, such as our people coming in over the weekend to do weekend work. So modifications were made to adjust for the unusual circumstances, and that's what you have all pretty much presented in front of you right now. So this version, as you see before you, has been endorsed by the Standing Fields Committee and also our folks that we had working on this.
Well, and also, there was the meeting since our last meeting, which was with the representatives from the different sports organizations and
Yes.
Sting in town, so some of them, this came from conversation with them as well. And most everyone was, almost all the groups were represented there.
The only one who wasn't there was lacrosse.
Yeah.
Yes, lacrosse was the only one that wasn't there. And so the sports organizations understand the concept and the desire of what we're trying to do is to prevent overuse of fields and then to prevent the mismanagement of fields as well. So there was some discussion between a couple of organizations as to who gets priority of fields, and that was not going to be forwarded into this version.
No.
So that was taken, the discussion was made, the discussion was had, the discussion led to no approval. So what you have right now is what has been recommended.
It's recommended by the Fields Committee.
Absolutely, that's 100% correct.
All right, so now, we've had this. Any other questions on this? We've been working on this now for months, so any other questions on this?
The thing that I noticed from some of the sports groups is that they are aware that there's going to be fees changes. They just want to know that when the fees are being changed, that they give prior notification. So because what happens is that these sports organizations plan almost a year in advance as to what they're going to charge their members for participating in these tournaments.
So what would be your recommendation of what?
My recommendation-
If we approve these, when would you recommend that they go into effect?
I recommend they go into effect with the start of our next fiscal year, which would be July 1st. I think that would give people adequate time to, for Rick to publish them, for people to review them, and the people, and just from a, I just think from it's easier for us to have a fresh starting point at the beginning of our fiscal year.
All right, so John or Kara, would one of you like to make a motion that we accept this athletic field use and allocation policy?
Unless there's further
Version 5.
discussion for this, I would recommend, I like to put a motion before the board that the version 5 of the field use policy has been presented to you be accepted and moved forward from there,
And implemented
and implemented.
on July 1st, 2019.
2019.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. Tara can second it.
Any other questions about this? Any other comments?
No, thank you guys.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, a lot of work, guys, thanks a lot.
It was fun.
Really? I was at that last meeting. No, it was okay.
We'll move on to another
It was
project.
okay. It's good to put it behind us. The office trailer, as you know, is there by Anthony's letter. There's a little bit of, there's been a little bit of problems with the electrical work. The heat wasn't working last week, just so. Little problems, minor problems that they're all ironing out, so it's not a huge thing, but we just want you aware that there are a few little problems. Rick actually is going to talk to them about maybe getting a discount on the first month's rent, since it hasn't been
That the contractor.
up and running.
Is that correct? Who is supplying us with the trailer? That was their problems?
Yes, it's their problems, I believe.
Okay.
They're
So-
the landlord, right?
Rick's on, yeah, the landlord. So, no, Rick is on top of it, but we just wanted you to be aware of that. The budget, we did, Rick and I presented it to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. And the town has asked all the departments to voluntarily make a cut in their budget. And Rick today, when we were talking, said, you know, we did come in $19,000 less than last year's budget, so we almost can consider that our contribution to that. The capital improvements, they cut approximately $55,000 out of the capital improvements.
But that's for
So,
this fiscal year.
for the next fiscal year. So what Rick has said, I guess we've decided to not do the slit drains at the high school, but to keep the Adams irrigation. We thought that had to be done first before we can, and again, nothing has been absolutely approved, so this is still a work in progress. I'm sure we'll hear back more on
So
this.
we are still in the process of doing the conversion from the private contractor to in-house trash removal. for the
Well, we
person.
haven't been told no, so we're just,
Okay.
you know, again, nothing until, I don't know that the budget has made it, to the Board of Finance yet, you know, for their discussion. So, right now, we can't say. I mean, so far, so good, but you don't know what'll happen tomorrow.
I mean, it's hard
We can hope.
to ask us to cut something, because if they don't approve the garbage, that changes a lot in our budget,
Yes.
number-wise. I mean,
Increases our budget.
so, I mean,
Yes, it does. So we'll have to just,
kinda,
it's a waiting game.
it's fun.
Yes, it always is.
But you guys did a great job presenting. I was sitting in the back watching all that fun stuff.
Okay, the Eagle Project gazebo. Rick met with Kevin McGee and a representative from the Planning and Zoning Department. And it does turn out that our scout needs to apply for a state permit. The reason was not clear because I'm not part of Planning and Zoning. But Kevin and the Planning and Zoning Department are going to help him. He's going to continue with it, and he's going to get all the paperwork done, and they're going to lead him and help him do all of this.
That is
So-
a really good experience for him.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, so all in all,
And he's the right
it'll be
person to
great.
do it.
All in all, it'll be good.
Starting so young.
Yeah, he has
Yeah,
time,
he is.
you know?
He has time on his side.
Yeah.
Time's on his
It's not
side.
like he's 17 and a half and he has to have this done tomorrow,
Yeah.
so.
Right. Okay, the other thing I want to do before we forget is the transportation policy in your folder is not up to date. This, thank you Kathy, is the up-to-date one. So
Did we
please
stamp it?
put these in your.
Oh, yeah, revised February 2017. No, revised 2017. So this is the new one?
The one that went in there did not have the denial of transportation services in it. I don't know how that got left out of it. All right, because and the appeals and all of that. So I want to make sure that you all have that one. Okay. All right, any other unfinished business? Okay. So, moving on to new business. We've talked about the annual report. The annual report was also in your packet. I don't know that we have to officially approve it, but just.
Well written.
Rick does a good job, and it really is, it's good because it points out, even though this is 2017 to 2018, it really points out, I love the statistics, it points out how much we really do here. I mean, 33,586 meals, 10,900 passengers, just of the seniors alone. 20,000 people in participating in classes and events, so it's.
Just the fact that we had 5 or 6 Eagle Scout projects
Yeah.
that year
Yep.
alone.
That alone. So, I mean, there's a lot
I like the recognition of people.
going on here.
Jack Bender's chairman?
Jack was, he was chairman at the time, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, on July 1st.
This is on the website for public to read?
It gets submitted to the town and then apparently.
Because it should be, I think. They
Yeah.
may not have been
I think the
put
town,
out.
I think it goes on the town site, but this
Okay.
has to be submitted to the town.
Okay.
It's on the website.
625 classes.
Yeah.
The town used to put them all into a booklet, didn't they?
I don't know if they still do. But, okay. Fees for the rental of the rooms, the boat wrecks, and all of that. We actually looked at that last year, and Rick didn't think that we were going to change anything this year, but he just wanted to let you all know that we're probably going to keep this the same. Ellen's putting the book together as we speak. So it's more to let you know that we probably aren't changing our rentals on the rooms or the beach passes or the boat wrecks this coming year. Okay? Okay, now, I handed you this when you came in, the cancellation policy. Here's how Rick explained this to me, so I'm hoping I can get this all straight for you. When there is a school delay, the question is, do we follow the school policy or not? Now, generally, we didn't. We would just continue on. But Matt, he says, sometimes now Matt has delayed the opening of all the offices in town. So now the question is, do we continue with our morning classes? We can't obviously delay anything because we'd back up. You can't just say, well, the 8 o'clock class will meet at 10 because this is just not going to work because all these rooms are booked all day long. So we'd have to cancel the morning classes. He also was saying that, sometimes, if schools have an early dismissal, yes, maybe we can close, or maybe not. Or sometimes if the schools have a delay, or the schools close, to close the community center wouldn't necessarily work, because sometimes by the afternoon, the rows are cleared and people can come out anyway. So we're not really in sync with the schools. So how do we resolve this, and what do we do for a policy? So he gave us option A and option B. I didn't get this till this afternoon, so I would have gotten it to you sooner. Rick and Ellen, I don't know.
And the difference between option A and option B in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, I just got this too, so I really can't honestly say right now. But I'm wondering if we should
It looks like the first one.
Table
just
this.
cancels, daytime, but leaves the option open for evening. The bottom one. Just cancels everything.
Right.
The problem about tabling is that that we're right in the middle of the cancellation season.
Right.
So maybe take some time to take a quick peek at this.
I mean, people are
Well-
pretty used to it when the schools are closed, Park and Rec is closed. Delayed, the classes have been carrying on, correct?
I don't know.
I think it's been kind of like, depending on who's teaching the class, whether they can get here or not.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they disseminate that information.
It's not necessarily A and B in this one. If the school's closed and the town closes, the town function still continue. It's just that the schools have made their choice to send the students home early or not accept them to come into school at all. But that, unless there's a state emergency that's governed by Hartford.
And that's usually the buses is what I think the main concern is, so. Like that snow squall we just had the other day. So, like I was noticing on Channel 8 and Channel 3, there was things that were being canceled. Well, I was getting it on my phone because I was at work, but like at 2 and 3 o'clock, they started canceling, town started canceling a whole bunch of things.
Right.
Did we do that here? Does,
I don't know if we did, the school canceled after-school activities.
after-school activities, but I was noticing some other towns,
Yeah.
Park and Rec stuff were coming up.
I
So
know. I
I
don't
just,
think we did.
do we just kind of do it on a basis of, like you said, if your teacher can't get to a class to teach it, then how does that get out to everyone that
Was
the
that
class is
Tuesday?
canceled?
Usually.
I think so.
It was
Okay.
Wednesday.
Usually
It was
they-
Wednesday.
Nothing was
It was
canceled.
It was
Okay.
Wednesday.
It was Wednesday?
Yeah.
Usually they'll email us or they'll call. They will literally call. I know with bocce, when it rains,
So they have a list of.
there's
the
a list of the
participants
people,
and their
absolutely, there's a
contact
list of
info.
people who have registered,
Yeah.
and, the email does go out, often
Yeah.
they'll break it up, and they have a phone train, they'll give us all a quick call and leave a message. So they do have ways of contacting everybody.
I think pickleball's the same way, the instructor or the
Don't
supervisor.
you have a weather line
email
for the Parks and Recs
everything.
department?
Yes, you can call here too, it's,
Right.
yes.
Okay, because okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we know, like, what's the history of Park and Rec over the years? Do you know, Rose, like, having closed? Because it kind of, in a way, seems like that it's also kind of a shelter for people.
Well, then it goes,
That, you
well, that's
know,
different, then
yeah,
then it goes out there that this is
Yeah.
a shelter and the building is
Yeah.
opened. But
Right.
I think we're looking this more in terms of programming.
I think option B seems simpler.
Simpler, yeah.
I think we should include Channel 6 on this too. Or
It
61.
seems, it does seem simpler, but
Yeah, it does seem simpler.
it's really, I'd like to be able to talk to Ellen and Terry about this before we really act on it, because they're really the people behind this.
Yeah.
We're asking these questions, and really, I don't have the answers, because I'm not here on these snow days.
I think they should actually create the policy
Maybe,
that they
yeah.
think that
That would
we
work
should
best.
follow, and then we'll just approve it.
Okay. Yeah, why don't I just try to contact them tomorrow and get their feedback on this before we go any farther with it, because it's hard for us to answer, because we're not the
We're not-
people making the
Yeah,
decision, and we're
right,
not the
making
people that are
decisions
trying to
on
get in here at
policies that
8:30 in the
affect
morning.
them. Yeah, so.
Okay. All right, well, that's okay, we'll just table this until the next meeting and let them, okay. Any other business?
And I should have asked it before, but as far as the expansion of the cage at Lake Quanapug, I'm sure you always already thought about this, but how about going up instead of out? Can it go up? When you meet with Rick, is
Okay.
it possible to go up instead of out?
I'll ask. I think it'd be too high, but we can ask.
Yeah.
All right.
They don't have any other equipment other than just getting tall people to get them off the top bracks.
Yeah, really, that to me would be the hardest part.
That's,
And lifting them up there,
yes, without damaging.
yeah,
That might be a liability issue.
yeah. But it's, you know what, it's a question worth asking, so we'll ask. All right, anything else?
Are you gonna set a walk date for that?
For what?
The cage, you said you
Oh,
wanted
we'll
to
have
look
to
at
ask
it.
Rick.
I have to wait until I talk to Rick. I'll have to get messages out, or people could just take a walk up there themselves and just take a look at it. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Wow, this was the 5th meeting